Who is Jean Grey? Powers, origin, and everything you need to know before Spider-Man Brand New Day. Before you walk into Spider-Man Brand New Day, there's one character you absolutely need to know about. Not Spider-Man, not the Punisher, not even MJ. It's Jean Grey. If the early leaks and premiere reports are accurate, Marvel has just introduced one of the most important characters in comic book history. And if you've never read an X-Men comic before, don't worry, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly who Jean Grey is, why comic fans are so excited, what makes her one of Marvel's most powerful heroes, and why her arrival could completely change the future of the MCU. Let's start at the beginning. Jean Grey isn't just another mutant. When people hear the word mutant, they usually think of Wolverine, maybe Professor X or Magneto. But ask comic readers to name the most powerful X-Men ever created, and Jean Grey is almost always part of that conversation. Not because she's the strongest fighter, not because she has the coolest costume, but because her powers eventually become almost impossible to imagine. She's one of the few Marvel characters whose abilities grow from reading someone's thoughts to literally affecting reality itself. That's quite a journey. So, who exactly is Jean Grey? Jean Grey was born with incredible psychic abilities. At first, they seemed fairly simple. She could hear people's thoughts, communicate without speaking, sense emotions, move small objects without touching them. Useful powers, but nothing world-ending. The problem was, Jean kept getting stronger. Every year, every battle, every emotional moment. Her mind became more powerful than almost anyone around her. And eventually, something ancient noticed her. Something cosmic. Something that would change Marvel forever. It's called the Phoenix Force. Wait, what is the Phoenix Force? This is where things become really interesting. The Phoenix Force isn't a mutant. It isn't magic. It isn't an alien. Think of it as an ancient cosmic force of life, death, creation, and destruction. It has existed for billions of years. It can create civilizations, destroy planets, even reshape reality itself. Throughout Marvel history, it has chosen different hosts, but its most famous host has always been Jean Grey. And once the Phoenix chooses Jean, everything changes. Why fans are losing their minds? That's why comic readers immediately became excited when rumors suggested Sadie Sink was playing Jean Grey. Because introducing Jean doesn't just introduce one character, it quietly opens the door to the X-Men. Professor X, Cyclops, Storm, Magneto, Wolverine, the entire mutant saga. Marvel has spent years slowly teasing mutants, but Jean Grey? That's different. She's not just another mutant, she's one of the pillars of Marvel history. Did Spider-Man Brand New Day really confirm it? Marvel tried incredibly hard to keep Sadie Sink's role a secret. For months, nobody officially knew who she was playing. Fans created dozens of theories. But then, just before the film's wider release, several leaked clips began appearing online. One clip in particular spread everywhere. In it, Sadie Sink's character calmly says, "I am Jean Grey." That single line was enough to send the internet into complete meltdown. Soon after, early audience reactions and premiere reports echoed the same reveal. Marvel may have wanted to keep the surprise hidden, but once those clips surfaced, fans finally had their answer. Why she's so important to Spider-Man. Now here's something fascinating. Spider-Man and Jean Grey don't actually spend decades together in the comics, so why introduce her here? Think about Peter Parker after No Way Home. His entire life has been erased from everyone's memory. He's isolated, alone, trying to rebuild his life from nothing. Now imagine introducing someone whose greatest power is understanding what's happening inside another person's mind. Jean doesn't just fight alongside Peter. She becomes someone who can truly understand him in ways almost nobody else can. That's a fascinating dynamic. Could the Phoenix already be coming? Marvel never rushes these things. When Iron Man first appeared, nobody expected the Avengers. When Thanos smiled at the end of the first Avengers movie, it took years before Infinity War happened. Jean Grey could be exactly the same. Brand New Day may simply be planting the first seed, a quiet introduction before something much bigger arrives. Maybe an X-Men movie, maybe Avengers, maybe even a full Phoenix saga years from now. Marvel loves playing the long game. Why Marvel chose Jean Grey first? Now here's something I've been thinking about ever since the first reactions started coming out. Out of all the X-Men characters Marvel could have introduced, why Jean Grey? Why not Wolverine, or Professor X, or even Magneto? Those characters are arguably more recognizable to casual audiences. But Jean Grey gives Marvel something the others can't. She represents the future. Think about it. Peter Parker is starting over after losing everyone he loves. The Fantastic Four are beginning to reshape the MCU. The Avengers are rebuilding. And now, a mutant with incredible psychic abilities suddenly enters the picture. It almost feels like Marvel is quietly connecting all of these stories together. Jean Grey isn't just another superhero joining the universe. She's a sign that the MCU is entering a completely new chapter. A chapter where mutants are no longer just rumors or Easter eggs. They're becoming part of the main story. And if Marvel is already introducing Jean Grey, it probably means this is only the beginning. Because where Jean goes, the X-Men are usually never far behind. Whether that's Cyclops, Professor X, Storm, or eventually even Wolverine. The pieces finally seem to be falling into place. So while Spider-Man Brand New Day may look like Peter Parker's next adventure on the surface, it could also be remembered as the movie that quietly opened the door to Marvel's mutant era. And if that's true, we're witnessing the beginning of something much bigger than a single Spider-Man film. Could Jean Grey become more powerful than the Avengers? Here's something that's easy to miss if you're new to Marvel Comics. At first, Jean Grey doesn't seem all that different from other superheroes. Sure, she can read minds, she can move objects without touching them, that's impressive. But we've already seen powerful characters in the MCU. Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel. So why are comic fans reacting as if Jean Grey changes everything? Because they're not thinking about who Jean Grey is today. They're thinking about who she eventually becomes. In the comics, Jean's story is one of constant evolution. Every time she learns to control her powers, another layer is revealed. What begins as simple telepathy grows into something far more dangerous. She can influence entire groups of people at once. She can communicate across incredible distances. She can move massive objects with nothing but her mind. And when the Phoenix Force enters the picture, the scale becomes almost impossible to comprehend. We're talking about a power capable of destroying planets, creating new life, and altering reality itself. That's why longtime Marvel fans don't just see Jean Grey as another mutant. They see her as someone who could eventually stand alongside or even surpass some of the MCU's strongest heroes. Now, that doesn't mean Marvel is rushing straight into the Phoenix storyline. In fact, they probably shouldn't. One of the biggest criticisms of previous X-Men movies was introducing the Phoenix too quickly. Marvel Studios has a chance to do something different, to let audiences grow with Jean, to watch her discover her abilities, to understand the responsibility that comes with that kind of power. And if they take their time, the payoff could be incredible. Because if Spider-Man Brand New Day is truly Jean Grey's first step into the MCU, then we're probably witnessing the beginning of one of Marvel's biggest stories yet, not the end of it. Final thoughts. Whether you've followed the X-Men for decades, or today is literally the first time you've ever heard the name Jean Grey, one thing is already becoming clear. Her arrival isn't just another cameo. It could be the moment the Marvel Cinematic Universe finally begins its mutant era. And if the early reactions are anything to go by, Sadie Sink may have just become one of the most important new faces in the MCU. So now I want to hear from you. Did you already know who Jean Grey was before Spider-Man Brand New Day? Or was this movie your first introduction to one of Marvel's greatest characters? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this explainer, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because we've got more Spider-Man, X-Men, and Marvel breakdowns coming very soon.